The creature in chains, the sun was low over the desert, turning the sky orange and red. The wind blew soft across the dry land, carrying dust with it. Rick Dawson, a lone patrolman, drove his old hovercraft across the empty wasteland. The engine hummed quietly beneath him. He had done this route 100 times. Nothing ever changed out here. But today, something was different. Far ahead, Rick saw something moving. A hovercraft. That wasn't strange. People cross the desert sometimes. But what caught his eye was what followed behind it. It looked like a body dragged across the sand, chained to the back of the hover. Rick squinted. The thing shimmered in the light, too smooth, too bright, not human. It left a long trail in the dust. The hover pulled it without care, like garbage. Rick's stomach turned. "What the hell is that?" he whispered. He turned off his patrol lights and followed from a distance. Whoever was driving the hover was in a hurry, kicking up clouds of sand behind them. Rick stayed far back, but not too far. He had a bad feeling deep in his chest. As the chase continued, Rick used his zoom lens to get a better look. And then he saw it clearly. It wasn't human. The body being dragged had gray-blue skin, long arms, and a face that didn't belong on Earth. Even though its body was bloody and bruised, its eyes were open, glowing, watching. Rick felt cold all of a sudden. This was an alien. Alive, maybe barely. Chained by the neck, wrists, and ankles. The metal links sparked every few seconds, like a shock collar. Why would someone do this? Rick asked himself. And who? The hover pulling the creature was painted black, with no ID tags or signals. Military grade. Maybe private. Maybe something worse. Rick had heard stories, secret groups, black ops missions, people who saw things and disappeared. Still, he couldn't look away. The creature moved. Just a little. Its fingers twitched. Its head lifted weakly. And its eyes locked onto Rick. Rick's heart stopped. He was too far, too hidden. But somehow, the alien saw him, knew him. For a second, Rick's mind felt strange. Like a soft voice entered his head, a whisper in a language he didn't understand. But it felt like fear, like pain, like a cry for help. He shook it off. "No," he muttered. "I'm just tired. It's the heat." But he kept following. The other hover didn't slow down. It raced over rocks and dunes, pulling the alien's body like a sack. Rick clenched his fists. This wasn't right. Whoever they were, they weren't trying to help. They were trying to hide something. Night came fast in the desert. The sun dropped below the horizon, and the sky turned dark. Rick turned on his night goggles. The other hover had stopped in a rocky canyon. It was quiet now. Silent. Rick parked on a cliff above, lights off, engine low. He watched as two men in black armor stepped out. They looked around, then opened a panel in the ground. A hidden door. A base. Underground. The chained alien didn't move. They picked it up like trash and dropped it onto a lift. The metal door closed behind them. Rick sat there, staring into the dark. Something about this was wrong, very wrong, and still, he couldn't leave. That night, as he camped quietly in his hover, Rick had a dream. Or maybe it wasn't a dream. He saw stars, a war, strange ships in the sky, a planet burning. He saw the alien, standing proud, a leader maybe. And he saw something buried beneath the sand, glowing like fire. Then he woke up, sweating. The desert was quiet again, but in the silence, he heard it. A whisper, soft and clear. "Help me." Rick looked out over the canyon. Something told him this wasn't just about one alien. It was bigger, deeper. Something the world was never meant to see. Asterisk. The 40-mile trail. Asterisk. The next morning, the desert was silent. Rick Dawson sat in his hovercraft, staring at the canyon below. His hands were cold. His chest felt heavy. He couldn't forget the dream, or that whisper, "Help me." Was it just in his head? Or did the alien really speak to him? Rick didn't believe in magic. He believed in machines, orders, and logic. But nothing about last night felt normal. That alien, whatever it was, had sent something into his mind. He had two choices now: turn back and forget everything, or follow the truth, wherever it led. Rick started the engine. The black hover that dragged the alien had left fresh tracks, deep, clear, and long, stretching far into the desert. Rick followed at a distance, careful not to be seen. He had a gut feeling. They weren't heading to a base. They were heading to something buried. As the hours passed, Rick drove through sharp rocks, dunes, and dead land. The hover trail stretched for 40 miles. A line of pain across the desert floor. But it wasn't just the tracks he followed. He began seeing signs. First, small burns in the sand, like something hot had touched the ground. Then, pieces of strange metal, broken, alien-looking, not from Earth. And then, blood. Not red. Blue. Rick stopped and picked up a broken chain link. It was scorched. He ran his fingers over it. Something had tried to break free. Or maybe someone had helped. The pieces didn't make sense. Suddenly, the wind stopped, and Rick heard it again. A hum. Low, inside his head. He closed his eyes, and the visions came. He saw a ship falling from the sky. A bright light, soldiers yelling, people running. The chained alien surrounded, captured, taken. Rick's heart pounded as if it was his memory. When he opened his eyes, he was shaking. The alien was doing this. But why him? Why now? Rick kept moving. Around mile 20, he saw something terrifying. A large, black shape half buried in the sand. He slowed down, stepped out, and walked closer. It was a crashed pod. Half destroyed, smoking even now. Not human now. Smooth metal, glowing. Lines cracked open. Inside, there were two dead bodies. Not human. Not like the chained alien either. They had long fingers, thin skin, and strange armor. One of them had been shot in the back. Rick backed away. This wasn't just an alien prisoner. This was part of a battle. The chained alien was probably the last survivor. And someone wanted him silenced. Permanently. Rick got back in the hover, heart racing. He followed the trail deeper into the Badlands. At mile 30, the sand turned black, burned. The smell of plasma filled the air. Here, the alien had fought back, or tried to. Rick found claw marks in the ground, chains broken, a patch of blood, a soldier's helmet crushed, like paper. But the trail continued. The hover that dragged the alien hadn't stopped for long. Whoever was driving it was desperate, or afraid. At mile 35, Rick lost signal. No radio, no GPS, nothing, like something was blocking it. Then he saw a dot in the far distance rising from the desert. Like a ghost was a black structure. Tall, hidden, no lights, no flags. It wasn't on any map. And it was where the trail ended. Rick parked behind a hill and watched. 4 black hovers, soldiers, and the same armored men from last night. They were unloading the alien, still alive, still chained. It didn't resist. It just looked up. Right at Rick. No matter how far he was, no matter how hidden, it knew. And Rick felt something strange. A voice inside. But this time, it was different. Not fear, not pain, a message. Think I am the weapon, but I was sent to stop one. Rick's blood ran cold. The men dragged the alien inside the black building. The door shut. And the desert was quiet again. But Rick knew This wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Something ancient was waking up, and he was now part of it. Voices in the dust. Rick Dawson didn't sleep that night. He stayed hidden in his hovercraft, parked behind a rocky hill, eyes locked on the black structure in the distance. The place had no windows, no lights, no sounds, just walls. Cold, smooth, silent. But Rick could feel something inside. It wasn't just a building. It was a cage. Cage for something dangerous, or something important. The chained alien had looked at him again, straight through the dust, the dark, and the distance. And somehow, Rick had heard a voice in his head. They think I am the weapon, but I was sent to stop one. That sentence played over and over in his mind. What did it mean? Who was the real threat? And why was Rick being pulled into this? He should have left, called it in, gone back to base. But instead, he powered up a small scout drone, consented, flying toward the black structure. The drone was silent, fast, camouflaged. It hovered over the rooftop, scanning for signals. Nothing. The place was shielded, but there was one weak signal. A pulse, repeating, like a heartbeat, coming from underground. Rick locked onto it. His eyes widened. It wasn't a machine. It was alive. Suddenly, the drone's camera glitched. For one frame, just one, Rick saw something impossible. A second alien, lying, deep in the lower levels. Not chained, not awake. Frozen in a glass chamber, not like the first alien. Bigger, different, covered in armor. And above it, scientists stood, pointing at a control panel, laughing. Rick didn't know why, but he felt fear, real fear, deep. In his bones. The drone lost connection. The screen went black. Rick sat back, hands shaking. They're not just holding him, he whispered. They're using him to find the other one. But who was the other one? Friend? Enemy? Weapon? As the sun began to rise, Rick made his decision. He would get inside that building. Not to fight. Not to rescue, but to understand the truth. He grabbed his gear, kept low, and made his way through the rocks. The building was surrounded by auto sensors, but Rick knew how to avoid them. He had done missions before, covert work for people who didn't exist. This wasn't his first secret, but it might be his last. He found a tunnel vent near the west wall. Old, dusty, forgotten. He crawled in. The inside of the structure was even stranger. No human tech. Everything was built around alien machines, glowing blue wires, floating panels, walls that hummed like they were breathing. Rick moved quietly, careful not to touch anything. He reached a viewing deck, and there he saw it. Again, the chained alien, strapped to a medical table, surrounded by machines. But it wasn't being healed. It was being scanned, drained, and read like a book. And the men in the room? They were laughing. One of them said, "The beacon activated. Coordinates are locked. The vault opens tonight." Another replied, "Once we extract the signal, we don't need this thing anymore." Rick felt his chest tighten. They weren't trying to help Earth. They were trying to wake up. Something buried. Something dangerous. Suddenly, the alien looked up again, straight at Rick. Again. And this time, the voice was clear. Not a whisper. A warning. "You are human. You still have a choice. But if they wake him, there will be no Earth to save." Rick stepped back, heart pounding. He turned to leave, but the floor beneath him lit up. He had triggered something. An alarm? A sensor? No. A voice. Ancient. Deep. Not the aliens. A different one. Colder. Stronger. Echoed from below. "I was buried in chains. Now I rise in fire." The walls began to shake. Rick ran. Behind him. The alien screamed. No words, just a sound. Of pure terror. Not for himself, but for what was coming. Asterisk. The secret below asterisk. Rick. Dawson ran through the black corridors. The alien's warning still echoed in his mind. If they wake him, there will be no Earth to save. The lights in the hallway flickered. The floor vibrated. Alarms had not gone off, but something older than alarms was stirring. Rick didn't stop. He had to get to the lower levels. He had to see what was buried beneath this building. Because now he understood. The chained alien wasn't the danger. The thing below was. He reached a metal door with strange symbols on it. It wasn't human tech. It opened for him without a touch. Inside, the air was cold and heavy. The lights were dim and blue. The room was filled with machines, some floating, some wired into the floor. In the center was a round platform that led down deep. A slow elevator. Rick stepped on it. The platform hummed and began to descend. As he went deeper, the walls around him changed. No more steel. No more concrete. Stone. But not natural. It was carved, perfectly smooth. Ancient symbols ran along the walls, pulsing faintly, like veins under skin. Rick felt dizzy. He saw flashes again, visions. He was not alone. A voice spoke. In his mind, not the chained alien this time. This one was darker, heavy. You are the second to come this far. But you will not leave. The platform stopped. Rick stepped off into a wide chamber, and there it was. The vault. At the center of the room stood a massive glass container 20 feet tall, filled with blue mist. Inside it floated a being, humanoid, armored, silent. Its arms were crossed over its chest. Its face was hidden behind a dark metal mask. But Rick felt the power in it raw, ancient, waiting. And then he noticed wires connected the vault to the surface. Above, the scientists were trying to wake it, using the chained alien's energy. Slowly stepped forward. Symbols on the floor glowed beneath his boots. He stared at the being. Suddenly, it twitched. Just one finger, but it was enough. The lights in the room flared. The walls shook. A voice thundered through the air, not in English, not in sound, but in feeling. I was king of stars. You buried me in fear. Now I rise in hunger. Rick backed away. This wasn't just a warrior. It was a conqueror. He turned, ready to escape, but the chained alien's voice whispered into his mind again. You must stop them. They don't know what they've found. That being once destroyed worlds. I was sent to die here, to keep him buried. Rick's heart pounded. This was the truth. The chained alien was a guardian. He had crashed here to seal this monster away, but the humans greedy. Blind were breaking the seal. The military group thought they were unlocking power. They were unlocking doom. Suddenly, Rick heard footsteps behind him. Soldiers. 2 of them. You're not supposed to be down here, one growled, raising his weapon. Rick didn't wait. He hit the power console and ran. The room exploded in sparks. The vault hissed loudly. Cracks formed in the glass. Behind him, he heard the soldiers yelling, and then something else. A roar. Deep, alien, hungry. Rick sprinted back to the elevator platform. The chained alien's voice returned, louder now. You must help me. Only together can we seal him again. Rick reached the top level and slammed the emergency override. Doors burst open. Red lights flashed. Now alarms were everywhere. Chaos. But no one understood what was really happening. Only Rick knew, and he had one. Goal now. Free the chained alien. Because without him, the thing below would rise. And Earth would fall. The message from the past, the alarm screamed. Red lights flashed across the black walls. Soldiers ran in every direction, shouting orders. But none of them knew what was truly happening. Only Rick Dawson did, and he was running straight into danger. Moved fast through the corridors of the hidden facility. His heart pounded. His thoughts were racing. Down below, something was waking up, something ancient, powerful, and hungry for war. And the only one who could stop it was the one they had. Chained and tortured. Rick reached the containment chamber. The alien was still strapped to the metal table, weak but awake. Its glowing eyes turned toward him. Rick raised his hands slowly. "I'm not with them," he said, voice steady. "I saw what they're doing. I know what's down there." The alien blinked. A faint glow pulsed across its skin. Rick felt it again, that presence in his mind. But this time, it wasn't pain. It was a memory. Suddenly, Rick wasn't in the room anymore. He stood in a vast city of silver towers and glowing skies. Strange ships floated above. Stars burned red in the distance. And in the center of the city stood the alien, not in chains, but in armor. A warrior, a guardian. "This was my world," the alien's voice said inside Rick's mind. "We called it Sorik, a place of peace, long ago." The memory shifted. The sky turned dark. Ships fell from orbit. Explosions, screams, shadows covered the stars. A new figure appeared, tall, armored, cruel, the one buried beneath the facility. "He came from the dark edge of the galaxy," the voice continued. "He was not born. He was built for war. He does not conquer planets. He ends them." Rick watched as the dark figure raised one hand and entire cities vanished in white. "Light. We fought him. We trapped him. We buried him. Here. But the cost was everything. I stayed behind. My duty was simple. If he ever rose again, I would stop him, even if I died doing it." The vision faded. Rick was back in the room. The alien was looking at him, tired, but still strong. "Why me?" Rick asked quietly. "Why? Are you showing me this?" "Because you listened," the alien whispered inside his thoughts. "No one else heard me, but you did. You saw the truth." Rick stepped forward. "I'll help you," he said. "But we're running out of time." Suddenly, the door burst open. 3 soldiers stormed in, weapons raised. Rick grabbed a stun rod from the wall and charged. He took down the first 2 quickly. The third raised his gun, but the alien, still chained, lashed out with its mind. Soldier froze, eyes wide, then dropped unconscious. Rick pulled at the control panel. "Hang on," he said. "I'm getting you out." The restraints unlocked one by one. Chains fell. The alien slowly sat up. Thought it was weak, but its eyes burned bright. Then it placed one hand on Rick's head. Rick gasped. He saw another vision. But this time, it was Earth. Burning. Skies full of black. Ships. Cities torn apart by sonic fire. People running. No hope. "This is what happens," the voice said, "if the vault fully opens." Rick staggered back. "We have to stop it," he whispered. "Together," the alien replied. "But there is more. There is one final message, hidden deep." Rick frowned. "Where?" The alien turned its head toward the hallway. "In the crash site, where I fell, where the key was buried." "Where?" "The Dark One first reached Earth." Rick nodded. They had to go back. Back across the 40-mile trail. Back to the beginning. And now they weren't just running from soldiers. They were racing against time, because the vault was opening, and the monster inside was almost awake. The breakout asterisk. The walls trembled. The alarms had stopped, but now something deeper was shaking the ground. The vault was opening. Rick Dawson and the alien moved fast through the dark corridors. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Lights flickered red and blue. Screams echoed from faraway rune soldiers yelling, machines failing, chaos spreading. Rick helped the alien stay upright. It was still weak from the experiments, but its strength was returning with every step. "We don't have much time," Rick said, breathing hard. "I know. the alien answered in his mind. Once the Dark One rises, he will find others. He doesn't destroy alone. They turned a corner and ran into 3 guards. Freeze! One shouted, raising his weapon. Rick didn't wait. He threw a flash grenade. Boom! The light blinded them, just long enough for Rick and the alien to slip past. The alien raised its hand. Energy sparked from its fingers, just a flicker, but it shorted the door lock behind them. Your powers are coming back, Rick said. Enough to survive, not enough to win. They reached the loading bay. Black hovers were parked near the exit ramp. Sleek, armored, fast. Rick spotted one with a full charge. Get in, he shouted. The alien climbed aboard. Rick jumped into the pilot's seat, slammed the controls, and the hover roared to life. The bay doors were closed. Soldiers poured in behind them. Rick aimed the hover forward. No way out. Make one. He hit the boosters full. Throttle. Crash. The hover smashed through the steel doors and blasted into the open desert. Sand exploded behind them. Gunfire followed. Rick zigzagged through rocky dunes as plasma bolts screamed past. A missile locked on. Incoming, Rick shouted. The alien turned, lifted its hand, and the missile stopped in midair. Spun once, then flew backward. Boom! It exploded near the base, sending fire into the sky. They were free, but not safe. As they raced across the desert, Rick checked the scanner. They're calling reinforcements, he said. We've got about 20 minutes before they catch up. The alien was silent. Then it pointed west. There, that's where I fell. That's where the last message waits. Rick nodded, back to the crash site. They rode across the wasteland, dust swirling, engines burning, time running out. Rick remembered the place well. The broken ship, the scorched sand, the trail of blue blood. They arrived as the sun dropped behind the hills. The desert turned red. The crashed pod still sat half buried. But now, something had changed. The ground near it had cracked open, and in the cracks, something glowed. Rick stepped out. What is that? He asked. The alien walked slowly toward it. That is not a crack. It is a door, and it has waited for both of us. The alien touched the glowing ground. Suddenly, light shot out, a circle forming wide and ancient. And then a shape rose from the sand. A beacon. Not made of metal, not human. It looked like crystal, with symbols floating in the air around it. The alien placed its hand on the beacon, and Rick saw everything. A flash of stars, a map of the galaxy, a war that spanned thousands of years. And then Earth, a small a target. The Dark One had marked Earth long ago, but the alien had arrived first to stop him. This beacon, it was the last signal to the stars, a warning, a call for help. Rick gasped as it ended. So, we're not alone, he whispered. No, the alien replied. And if Earth falls, the rest of the galaxy follows. Suddenly, a shadow passed overhead. Rick looked up. Ships. 3 of them. Coming fast. They found us. The alien stood tall. Then we fight. The truth beneath the sand. The desert wind howled. Rick Dawson stood beside the alien guardian, facing the glowing beacon that had risen from the sand. Behind them, the old crash site crackled with energy. Beneath their feet, the earth trembled, softly, like something underneath was waking up. Above them, 3 black warships broke through the clouds. The same men who had tortured the alien, who had tried to unlock a god from the earth, were coming to finish the job. Rick narrowed his eyes. They're coming fast, he said. The alien stared up. Calm, steady. Let them come. If this is the end, then we meet it with fire. The beacon pulsed, bright, urgent. Suddenly, Rick heard a deep rumble. The ground split wide open. A staircase appeared. spiraling into the sand. Ancient, not built by humans. The alien turned to Rick. This is the vault beneath the vault. The humans opened the wrong door. The true secret lies below. Rick followed the alien down the stairs. Every step felt heavier. At the bottom, they entered a circular chamber, walls of glowing stone, moving symbols, and air that buzzed with raw energy. At the center was a second vault, smaller than the first, but this one was not holding a monster. It was holding a memory. The alien touched the vault. It opened with a whisper. Inside was a small, crystal-like sphere floating above a metal ring. When Rick looked at it, his mind filled with images. Earth. But not the present, not cities, not humans. Prehistoric Earth. And something falling from the sky. Dark ship. Crashing. Burying itself beneath the sand. Long before humans walked upright. He came here long ago, the alien said. He failed to rise then. He nearly woke again now. But this planet, it always fights back. Rick understood now. The chained alien wasn't just a guardian. He was the last key to a warning buried. For eons. A message not just for his kind, but for humanity. Rick touched the crystal, and the beacon above roared to life. Tower of light shot into the sky, visible across half the planet. The warships above paused. Something in their systems shut down. Weapons offline. Engines dead. Deep sound followed, like a horn made of thunder. The galaxy now knows, the alien whispered. They will come, not to conquer, but to help. Suddenly one ship, still active, fired a missile. It streaked toward the beacon. Rick stepped forward. No, he said. Not again. He reached for the alien's stun rod and threw it like a spear. Struck the beacon's shield emitter, overloaded it, and turned the tower into a wall of blinding energy. The missile hit the light and vanished. The ground shook one last time. Then silence. The sky cleared. The warships fled. The Dark One trapped below once more. Sealed in light, the alien turned to Rick. You chose to help. When no one else listened, Rick smiled weakly. Seemed like the human thing to do. The alien nodded. HFY, as your kind might say. They stood there, side by side, looking out at the silent desert. The sun rose behind them. And for the first time in days, it felt like hope. The end.